Welcome back to Weekend Breakfast with me, David Bull. It's just after, I nearly said with me and nearly forgot who I was. David Bull, the time is just after 7:20 on Sunday, October the 23rd. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Loads and loads of messages coming in about what on earth is going on with the Conservative Party. This one from Kev, Origin, says, as usual, always great to see and hear you. I just want to point out many TalkTV presenters keep saying, what policies do Labour have? Well, let's be honest, not one of the main parties have policies. I'm 100% sick of them all, and Bob the Builder could do a better job. Hi, David. Did you ever think that the Remainers would allow anyone other than Sunak to get in? I would never trust this group on any issue, never mind the Premiership. I think that is a sentiment shared by many people indeed. Hi, David, says Jane. Good morning. Surely the best way is to put Rishi to become Chancellor and let Boris continue until the election. But think now it is too late. The damage is done. The public have had enough with the whole House. Time for 650 new faces. Thank you very much indeed. And this one made me laugh. Does Liz Truss get to vote in the leadership contest? I'd love to know who she's going to back. So would I. Golly, thank you very much indeed. That is from Carl. Keep your messages coming in. Also, tell me what you think about the electronic voting system. I know it was used in the last one, but obviously GCHQ were worried about the security of that and whether it could be open to manipulation by foreign powers. Particularly, we're not just electing the leader of a party. You know, we're electing the new Prime Minister, the person who's got to get this great country back on its feet, and that is a really important position indeed. Well, joining me now is Emma Wolf, here to review the papers. Good morning.
Morning, David. Lovely to be back.
Lovely to see you. Can you believe I forgot my name?
Honestly.
Well, I think it's just a number of days, to be honest. So papers clearly full of one story again.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, is this a farce or is this a glorious return? It's a farce.
It's a farce of Whitehall proportions.
It was when I saw Boris landing, and loads of my friends have literally got the trackers on their phone and they're tracking his flight. People are mad.
Apparently it was the most tracked plane, right?
The most tracked plane. Apparently he flew economy.
Right.
Which is good.
Yes,
I was assuming that he would fly back first class. He flew economy.
But he did get bundled out. I saw
he got bundled out.
But in a van with a big hat on.
Yeah, did he or did he not have his shirt hanging out? Which I just thought, classic Boris.
Yeah, I know.
Even returning as, you know, possibly our new Prime Minister, he can't even tuck in his shirt. Then again, those flights back from the Caribbean are pretty rough, aren't they?
They are quite rough.
You do feel pretty awful.
Yeah.
Many's the time I've come through the airport thinking, imagine if you came out to like I mean, it'll never happen to me, but a phalanx of like
so weirdly, I was
cameras.
on the plane and I was with Angelina Jolie, and this is actually true. And I've often thought that, you know, how would you come out? Because normally I look...
just feel, just want to,
and normally I look like I've been run over.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Angelina Jolie, I don't know if I can tell this story, but anyway, she disappears into the restroom, and she's in there for about an hour. And in fact, they were banging on the door saying, can you please come out, Miss Jolie, because we're landing. And she was in there. She came out looking $1 million.
They have to put on all the slap. Yeah. They have to change. They have to come out looking amazing. Yeah. I often think that with William and Kate as well, when they get off a flight, you know, somewhere on the other side of the world, and they've clearly someone has brought them their suit, not a wrinkle on it, whereas the rest of us literally roll out
covered
of a flight.
in baby sick, all sweets.
Oh gosh, feeling really rough.
Right, where do you want to start?
So much gossip. I mean, what do you know? I want to know from you. What do you know about this 11th hour meeting? Because, okay, this meeting happened allegedly last night. The papers are all over it, but in funny different ways.
Yes.
Then the Telegraph last night, sorry, but this is exciting. About 11 o'clock, the Telegraph issued their late edition saying... So the current headline was about the Telegraph. Sunak and Johnson urged to strike a deal, but then they issued their second edition, which was about, I'll tell you, it said, second edition of the Telegraph, Sunak and Johnson hold 11th hour talks. So did they or did they not? Did they actually sit down and meet, or do they still detest each other and ne'er the twain shall meet?
Well, you see, and everyone keeps saying, well, they need to do a deal and that Boris can be Prime Minister, Rishi becomes Chancellor again. Have they not forgotten that, of course, Rishi knifed Boris in the back? That was the beginning of the downfall. All of those members of Parliament then saying they had no confidence in the Prime Minister. So how can you all go back as lovely friends?
It's very odd. Are they literally, I mean, I wouldn't mind, but are they literally going to roll back the clock 6 weeks? it is madness to think.
Well, and also I think the whole thing about it is it's the worst bit for me about all of that is it's just become such a distraction.
Yeah.
Whilst the country falls into oblivion, where we have an energy crisis, where people can't eat, and they have the audacity to play games.
But for 12 months now, really, pretty much 12 months since Partygate kicked off last November, December, for 12 months we haven't had a functioning government. We haven't. I mean, say what you like, it's all been the internal stuff, the WhatsApping each other, going who's voting for who. You know, it's been Tory infighting, and it is an embarrassment. And yeah, you know, global recession, global downturn, global inflation, all of that. Yes, but we have not had a functioning government. We are a joke around the world. We're an international laughing stock. We really
I know.
are.
I had a friend of mine from Belgium. He said, "I find your politics more interesting than soap operas."
Yeah, my brother texted me from Germany saying, seriously, is Boris actually going to come back? You know, we are a laughing stock. We are. Meanwhile, David, Liz Truss is having a taxpayer-funded party at Chequers last night to say goodbye. She's going to be getting, what is it, £100,000 a year?
150.
What, forever?
Yeah, I think
Is
it's
that
the
her
pension.
I mean, things like that, when people, as you say, and I know we say this again and again, but we are talking about, there is a woman downstairs in our building, there is an old woman, and I actually feel quite emotional saying this. She's downstairs and she's telling me, an old lady, who is talking about living in one room this winter. And there is someone like Liz Truss. Exactly, and there are people like Liz Truss who will be on for total failure. She's been out of her depth all the way through. We knew that she was going to be a complete failure. 115,000 or whatever it is per year. I just think something needs to change in this country.
And of course, then there's the jobs for the boys, sticking people in the upper house as well. That doesn't seem right.
Well, that's an embarrassment. People accused of, you know, bottom pinching and all of that. Literally, you know, the resignation honours. Well, the honours system is an embarrassment. I think the House of Lords is an embarrassment as well.
So do I. It needs massive reform.
Turning up for lunch, signing in and signing out
quid,
again.
Thank you very much.
300
have lunch.
and off to wherever, you know, so and so Ivy Rooms, whatever. So I mean, yeah, go back to the papers, but honestly, yeah. Well, I mean, so the Express, Boris is back, and he is, strictly speaking. Boris is back. He has landed, but will he be back? I mean, what do you think?
Well, so I don't know if you heard my sort of monologue opening read that I did, but essentially it's really complicated. And I was sitting there last night wondering who's in charge.
Yeah.
Because if there are 357 MPs and you can only get through if you get 100, so therefore they've made it happen so that you can only have 3 candidates in that final 3.
And we know that Penny Mordaunt is pretty much out of the race. She's on about 23 as last year. So we know that it's basically
So therefore that makes, say we're on now, what's that, 250?
Yeah.
So there are still 100. So could someone else come in with another 100?
I don't think there's anyone else emerging, is there?
I don't think so, because Kemi Badenoch is now supporting Rishi.
Yeah.
So that was obviously...
It's really interesting, actually, who's moved behind whom.
Well, and Frost, you see. Yeah. So for me, that's the big one, Frost moving.
And Steve Barclay. These are key former allies of Boris Johnson who've now gone to Rishi Sunak.
Well, I just think they said something along the lines of, I can't cope with any more chaos.
Yeah. Lots of senior Tory donors are saying now is not the time for him to return. I do think if Boris tries to return now and then fails again, I think he's done for. I don't think you can try again. And the thing about
but you see, what I think, when he said hasta la vista baby, I think he will come back, but I don't think the timing is right now. And you know that letter which I got permission to read out?
Yeah.
This is from the former presidents of the National Conservative Convention and members of the Conservative Party board, essentially just saying, no, Boris, now is not the time. And that is a very powerful letter that I've been sent.
Roger Gale, who says he's been a member of the Conservative, an MP and a member of the Conservative Party since before Boris Johnson was alive. He was on a show last night saying, if Boris Johnson comes back, he's resigning the whip. I mean, he's been there forever. He's literally the Conservative Party in its... People are saying this is about the soul of the Conservative... You know, I mean, the party is fatally divided at the moment, and a lot of MPs, this is the problem, a lot of MPs on both sides will not row in behind, if it's Sunak or if it's Johnson, they will not come in behind the rival candidate. So what is going to happen?
You see, so it should always be country above party. It should always be like that.
Of course.
But right now, it's their job, above party, above country.
It's so much about their personal interests. And you know, in the Express, there was a long statement from Penny Mordaunt. You know, she's not getting anywhere, and she seems to have...
I like her.
Do you like her?
Yeah.
I just don't think. I think we'd risk going back into a Liz Truss situation where someone. I think she's a lot more intelligent than Liz Truss. I've never thought that Liz Truss had the intellectual heft in any way. She's not a performer, whereas Penny Mordaunt is good and warm and did well at PMQs. But I think we'd be in the same position as Liz Truss. I think it would stutter for about a month if things would fall apart. She doesn't have the experience. Neither of them do. It's a wildly different thing. You can say Liz Truss was Foreign Secretary. It's very different being the Prime Minister.
It is.
She simply did not have that senior level experience, and neither does Penny Mordaunt. She really doesn't.
So just going back to your papers, then this one, the Express says Boris is back, and it then goes on to say Johnson claims to have 100 supporters for his incredible second term. Now, I heard that from a very good source.
So you're hearing that that he's up to 100 or over 100. And people are being really reticent. We know who's backing him. We know that he's got people like Ben Wallace, Alok Sharma, obviously Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's got who's a woman? He's got Bill Cash. He's got who else are the big? Oh, Priti Patel says Boris. Boris is the man to lead Britain. But when Priti Patel supports Boris, I start.
But she's still a big hitter, and I think that's important having her.
Yeah. It is, and he's got big necks.
And of course, Jacob is there.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course.
And I think he should. I think I've always thought he should have a crack at it. He won't.
Actually, that's really interesting. He kind of transcends I was going to say the class system because he's so posh.
He's so posh, and he's actually quite popular.
And very funny.
With working class, folk who just go. Actually, do you know what? He talks sense.
And when he went around putting sticky labels on people's desks saying, "Will we see you again?"
That was so funny. He said something like, it would be greatly appreciated if you could return to your desk as soon as possible. He's not having any of this crap about working from home, It's so true. He knows that people are sitting at home in their PJs.
But you see, this is the point, and I just don't know how they're going to get out of this mess, because the party, I think, is so fractured, so divided now. Briefings, counter-briefings. And I think many of my friends...
And the stuff they've come out and said publicly. Lord William Hague yesterday, or the day before yesterday, saying, former leader, saying, we risk basically getting trapped in a death spiral if Boris Johnson comes back in. You can't unsay this stuff. It's all been said.
But they're in a death spiral.
They are in a death spiral. They're absolutely. And this is the front of the Observer. Top Tories say a Johnson return will risk the party's death.
But you see, other commentators are saying that. Nigel Farage has said exactly the same thing.
So where do Tory voters go?
Well, I think that's...
I'm not talking about MPs.
I have to be careful what I say for obvious reasons, but what I do know is that many people are ripping up, and I've said this all week whilst I was covering for Julia, but many people were sending me pictures and videos of them ripping up their Conservative membership cards and saying, I will never vote for them
But
again.
These people are Tories through and through.
Indeed.
Where do they go?
But the Conservative Party isn't Conservative.
So what do they do?
Well, they need to find a party that is Conservative. So how can you say a high-tax, high-regulation, low-growth party is the Conservative Party? It's an anathema, the whole thing. But there again, let's go back to COVID.
There's more than that. There's COVID. There's creeping wokeism. There's all this stuff.
COVID, the rise of the nanny state, being told what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't respond well to that. We now know all that money that was wasted on PPE contracts, the lockdowns, the way they destroyed small businesses, and the money they racked up and the debt we now have to pay off. And they have the audacity to say we need austerity.
And people are really angry now.
People
and goodness knows, on Halloween, with Jeremy Hunt coming out and swinging spending cuts across the board, who gets hit, David? Who gets hit?
Well, of course it's the poor.
Get hit. Of
yes,
course.
Again. And he's now mooting a Halloween budget, which to me is very frightening if Halloween wasn't frightening enough.
It's going to be spooky night, isn't it?
Yeah, spooky night. 40 billion black hole in the nation's finances, even after ditching that mini fiscal statement. And they're talking about things like changes to capital gains, removing the green levies, which I think is a good idea. The defence spending, though, I'm a little more concerned about.
Me too. And Ben Wallace is going to throw a hissy fit and throw all his toys out of the pram and all of this, meanwhile, they've quietly reversed their commitment. The only good thing that came out of that mini-budget was support for 2 years, a guarantee of 2 years on the energy price cap.
Yeah.
And now it's quietly been rolled back to 6 months. So people are panicking now about next April, about their mortgages soaring and their energy prices going way up.
But at the same time, we don't do anything.
I'm disgusted.
I am disgusted, but why are we not doing it?
I don't know. Why don't we come out in this country? What? Do what?
Well, so for example...
I mean, you're politically active, but do
I
what?
am. But in terms of we need more energy, we need energy security supply in this country, and we mustn't be held to the whims and fancies of other countries. So therefore, let's look at how we get energy out of the ground. And for me, it's fracking in the short term.
Yeah.
Stop all this nonsense about green net zero by 2050. Just pause it, get the cheap energy out. And actually, I think
That's not going to happen quickly, David. You know the reports about fracking. This country is really not fit for fracking. The head, the quadrilla guy, Chris Cornelius, saying a few weeks ago, if I was the head of a major fracking company now, I would not be investing in the UK. You know what will happen the minute they go back up to Lancashire and reopen those pits. Everyone will chain themselves to the railing. People will glue themselves to the building site. It's not a quick fix. I mean, fracking is a quicker fix than the investment that we should have done
18 months.
10 years ago.
Of course we should.
I'm talking about next April.
But we should also build nuclear power stations.
I know.
And of course we haven't done that either.
But all of this should have been done decades ago, and government are really irresponsible the way they do this. Everything is the short term. And right now, it's not even short term. It's about how can I secure my job? How can I worry about my job for next week?
Well, exactly. And also right now, it's about 2 years, isn't it? Because, of course, but here's the thing. So when the new Prime Minister comes in, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, do they have a mandate to govern? Because I'm not sure they do.
I know. Because they have totally... The 2019 manifesto is now in the shredder, pretty much, because everybody's changed it, everybody's trampled all over it, new people have come in, new people have left. We've had, 4 chancellors in 4 months? I was doing this pop quiz on the radio last night, and they were asking who was the chancellor, 10 days ago, and I literally didn't know whether it was, and I know a lot, and I didn't know whether it was Jeremy, and we were trying to work out, was it Jeremy Hunt, was it the guy before him?
Yeah, was it Hunt?
It was just Jeremy Hunt. Yeah. But it was, no, in fact, it was still Kwasi. Because Kwasi got sacked at the weekend while flying back from Washington.
I need to do pub quizzes with you. I mean, honestly, so many messages are coming in about this. Just the fact that actually they feel the Conservative Party is really imploding upon itself. Actually, this is quite interesting. John says, don't rule out Penny. If Boris reaches the 100, Rishi's team will ask the remaining loyal MPs to back Penny and get her over 100. Now, that's what I've been thinking about the skullduggery. That way, MPs will get a vote and remove Boris before it goes down to members. Penny will stand and Rishi will be crowned. Hang on, let's get that right.
In the Sunday Times, Penny Mordaunt is being urged to be the kingmaker, to lend her support to Sunak to get him way above. What they're trying to do, what the Sunak team are trying to do, is get such an overwhelming support for Rishi Sunak so that he's on 150, 170. So they say at that point he clearly has the overwhelming support of MPs. Does it then go to...
No, so what this email is saying, who is this? Sorry, that was John. Good morning, John.
Morning,
John says, and he's probably right, so the Rishi team, for those undecided, are saying, you vote for Mordaunt, we get Mordaunt over 100 because we know Rishi is over 100, and therefore we squeeze Boris out, and then it's a 2-horse race between Sunak and Mordaunt, and Rishi wins.
And Rishi wins. And so we end up with Rishi Sunak in number 10, and he keeps Hunt in number 11?
Yeah.
Because that's what the markets would like. Boring,
same old. Also very Remainer-centric.
Very, very Remainer-centric, yeah.
Which is what they wanted all along.
On that theory, John, I don't think that Penny Mordaunt has nearly enough to do that. She won't get over 100 if she's on 23-ish. What's interesting...
not? There are still many undeclared. We know.
But according to you, Boris is already over 100.
But then I don't know that.
Who is running the ship? Is it Sir Graham Brady?
Yeah, he's the chairman of the 1922, but he's the only one that knows.
I know, but is he running the ship at the moment? I mean, is he... Well, in terms of the leadership, is he basically making... Because he changed the rules quietly in the middle of the week. I mean,
I know, and you see, the thing is, then I start thinking, well, do we believe Graham Brady?
I know.
Because what happens if he doesn't really like the answer?
Listen, 20,000 members, you know this, do not have online access.
I know.
So and they have said every member will get their vote this week, whether we have to do it. How are they going to do that?
So also, I didn't realise
these are older folk that are not online.
Well, exactly.
How are they going to vote?
And then also, I didn't know that Conservatives abroad can vote, and there are various other groups that can vote as well.
And will they get a vote? What happens tomorrow morning? Because this is the thing. Monday morning is when we... Is it
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock tomorrow.
When we find out...
Is that... And actually, I remember writing some notes last night, but actually there are other people who can actually vote in this, and they're not. You don't have to be actually resident in the United Kingdom.
It's very, very strange, and we keep clashing up against this thing of the MPs, members, and then Tory voters, like a lot of people in the country.
Yeah.
You know.
So how about this one? It doesn't matter who gets in as Prime Minister next week. The Tories will be toast at the next election. I hope the members vote for Boris. The fallout will be fascinating to watch. And thank you, Trevor, in Cambridge for that. But that's also the point. Even if Boris Johnson gets in, we've still got the Privileges Committee, as you rightly say. And, of course, Harriet Harman is in charge of that. That's not going to go well.
That's not. And by Christmas, we could have Boris Johnson basically accused, being drummed out of office, being accused of lying to the House of Commons.
Losing his seat. There's a by-election.
I mean, I wonder if he gets in and calls a general election because he knows he's popular, and then he gets a stonking great mandate.
So that is really interesting, because right now the Tories would lose.
He might do.
But if Boris gets in and calls a general, could he win?
I still think that the Labour Party are so flaccid, and I'm sorry to use that word at this time in the morning. The Labour Party feels so faceless. I can't,
I don't know what they stand
name many
for.
policies. I heard one of their spokesmen last night kind of mentioning a few policies, which, all of which stolen from the Lib Dems or just things they've been saying for years. Apart from opposing the Tories, but the Tories are losing at the moment. It's Labour are not sort of surging forward.
That's right. And certainly, Keir Starmer is not, we talked about you want a charismatic leader, someone who you have confidence in, where the country is taken forward. Keir Starmer is not that man.
He's still not that man. He's
really
had open goals for years now. Over 12 months, he's had open goals, and he's failed to score.
So also, just watch the noises off. There are lots of things happening with other political parties at the moment. And in terms of people changing allegiances to parties, and I'm being very careful what I say here, and there are many of these parties, some of the parties are starting to go into supply arrangements with each other, where they're going to essentially stand in some seats and not in other seats. I think you're going to see some sort of coalescing.
Okay, I'm not asking you anything specific, but parties like Reform, that may be a natural home for Conservative voters, do they have fully fledged manifestos, fully fleshed out manifestos?
And they're on the website.
They are all there. Okay, no, because this is a genuine question. A lot of my friends are saying, where do I go? With my I'm a Conservative Party voter, where do I go? And, looking around, where do you go?
Yeah, I think it's... But also
people that feel they are not going to not vote. People that feel the vote is a precious, precious thing. It's a privilege. It's something that people fought for.
And it's so fascinating that people who are dyed-in-the-wool Tories have always voted Conservative, who would think of nothing else, and they are thinking of something else. Maybe, just maybe, this is just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shake up the political system, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
I'm worried, though, that it will just lead to political chaos, that simply they will not be able to...
That we haven't already got?
Haven't already had, exactly. You genuinely wonder sometimes who is running the country, and the answer is, as always, probably the civil servants, in between bits and bobs and WhatsApping each other about who's...
But you see, that worries me tremendously. If you've got Rishi Sunak in place and Jeremy Hunt, what's going to happen over the Northern Ireland Protocol?
Exactly, that has still not
resolved. And we're going to see rowing back. We're going to see changes. What have they done with the immigration issue? Nothing. 39,000 so far.
It was when Liz Truss's spokesman said, actually, we've just sacked the Home Secretary, or she's just left, but we'll have her back by Christmas. I mean, I just thought that was hours before her resignation. Everything was just falling apart.
The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, was so angry, apparently, that
they had a screaming row.
They had a screaming row because, of course, she wants to tighten the borders, which is basically what the voters want her to do, and she is there at their bequest. And, of course, she was met with resistance because what they want is open-door migration. Yeah. And you can't have both. Now, who's running this country?
Well, Liz Truss was trying to, and absolutely failing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I honestly don't know what happens, but I think the next 24 hours will be absolutely pivotal.
I think so, and I think well, let's see. I don't know what. Yeah, exactly. It's Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson, and goodness knows how this is going to unravel. There was talk of a coronation for Rishi Sunak by Monday, but actually, I think this is going to roll on all week, and goodness knows where we'll be by Friday. I mean, we're talking about Spook Night when Jeremy Hunt comes out and does his mini. What are we calling it now? A mini rolling back of the debt reduction plan budget, when he basically slashes everything. But goodness knows who will be Prime Minister by that point.
I know. I thought it was going to be the lettuce.
I know. Well, that was so brilliant, wasn't it? The Daily Star have been so funny.
And now Boris is an aubergine, I think.
Yeah, he's the aubergine. Yes. But also, David, don't you feel it's partly, I think we're all just in aghast at this, but it's sort of hilarious because you couldn't make it up, but it's also really, really serious.
It's really serious. And actually, I think one of the comments that I wrote down yesterday from what people were saying in the country, and this is true of anyone. So, for example, here they are. Boris's name on the ballot makes a mockery of the process. My business is suffering. We need a general election. Isn't that really the answer?
I think probably it is, but I'm also wary of the chaos that a general election plunged us into, because we desperately need some stability. We need stable government. We need one stable person, a grown-up. We need a grown-up in
We need a grown-up.
right? And with a general election, how long does that go on? You can't do that in a week.
No.
So is that for the next 3 months? How quickly can you pull together a general election and go to the country?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it relatively quickly, but still, no, it's not a short process.
And then what? You're going to have Conservative MPs all over the country losing their seats.
Also, the boundary changes coming soon.
The boundary changes. Yeah. I mean, I really think that almost nobody knows what's happening next.
I know. I literally wake up and think, who's Prime Minister every single day? Who's Chancellor? You know, it is a daily game. Emma, thank you so much for coming in. Always a pleasure. That's Emma Wolfe, who's a writer, journalist and broadcaster. After the break, I'm sure you have a lot to say. I'll be taking your calls, your thoughts and your messages. This is TalkTV. We're broadcasting live from the Talk Radio studios.